Hello everybody, Pipe Man 1861 here, and I want to wish you all a wonderful, wonderful International Pipe Smoking Day 2024. This is a fun day. Just got back home from work, and I'm down in the workshop, and I have something a little bit special planned for this particular video. As you all probably know, let me move this lamp over a little. That's better. Generally speaking, oh well, light might be kind of funny. Burning my lamps down here, figured it'd give it some ambiance. But anyway, I was trying to decide what to do because I wanted to do something special for International Pipe Smoking Day. And before I get into that, today in honor of International Pipe Smoking Day, I'm smoking my Savinelli Estella 320 KS, and I am smoking, have a bowl packed of some very nice Sutcliffe Red Virginia crumble cake. Rubbed it out, let it dry for a little bit, so hopefully it'll burn a little bit better, and it should be quite nice. I'm going to read a couple of passages. This is going to be a little bit of a longer video. If you don't want to stick around for it, I understand. This is a little book that I got a while back, a couple of years back. Called Tobacco Talk and Smoker's Gossip, an amusing miscellany of fact and anecdote relating to the great plant in all its forms and uses, including a selection from nicotine literature. Printed in London in 1886. And it has some really neat little stories, and it's just kind of a, I don't know, a Dutch poet, a Napoleon snuff box. Let me see. Anecdote of Dean Aldrich. A snuff maker's sign. Mr. Sala's cigar shop. So anyway, there's a variety of little half paragraphs to several pages worth of stories in here. Well, the two I'm going to read to you. The first is a little bit long, and the second is a little bit shorter and funny to me and interesting. First one is Smoking to the Glory of God, and it's the relation of, or the story of Charles Spurgeon's comments on his smoking. He smoked cigars in specific, but he was speaking on whether or not it was a sin to smoke, and he stated it quite well. And then the second one I'm going to read is Professor Huxley on smoking. But before I get into that, let me get lighted up here. Okay. Using matches tonight. Again, I figured I'm indoors, I might as well. If you didn't watch my review video on this tobacco, this has been aged for a little over a year. Man, this stuff tastes good. This is really one of the more flavorful Virginias I've had. Very nice vinegar, ketchup note to it. All right. Ah, delicious. Ginger wishes you all happy International Pipe Smoking Day too. All right. Smoking to the glory of God. One Sunday evening, Mr. Spurgeon, Charles Spurgeon, before beginning his sermon at the Metropolitan Tabernacle, announced that he should not preach long that night because he wished his friend Mr. Pentecost, who was on the platform, to say a few words to the congregation. Mr. Spurgeon then gave a very earnest address on the words, "I cried with my whole heart, hear me, O Lord, I will keep thy statutes. I cried unto thee, save me, and I shall keep thy testimony." Psalms 145, verse 6. He spoke strongly and plainly upon the necessity of giving up sin in order to success in prayer for quickening and as an evidence of sincerity. Mr. Spurgeon, in concluding his discourse, said, "Now then, perhaps Brother Pentecost will give you the application of that sermon." Brother Pentecost is an open communion Baptist minister of the American city of Boston. He responded at once to Mr. Spurgeon's call and, stepping to the front of the platform, made some appropriate comments on the latter portion of the text, speaking with much simplicity and force. Referring to one part of Mr. Spurgeon's sermon, he gave an interesting bit of personal experience. He said that, some years ago, he had had the cry awakened in his heart, "Quicken thou me." He desired to be more completely delivered from sin, and he prayed that God would show him anything which prevented his more complete devotion to him. He was willing, he thought, to give up anything or everything if only he might realize the desire of his heart. "Well," said he, amidst the profound silence and attention of the immense congregation, "what do you think it was that the Lord required of me? He did not touch me in my church, my family, my property, or my passions, but one thing I liked exceedingly, the best cigar that could be bought." He then said that the thought came into his mind, could he relinquish this indulgence if its relinquishment would advance his piety? He tried to dismiss the idea as a mere foolish fancy, but it came again and again to him, and he was satisfied that it was the still small voice which he was hearing. He remembered having given up smoking by the wish of his minstrel brethren when he was 21 for 4 years. But then he had resumed the habit, for he declared that during those 4 years he never saw or smelt a cigar which he did not want to smoke. Now, however, he felt it to be his duty to give it up again, and so unequal did he feel to the self-denial that he took his cigar box before the Lord and cried to him for help. This help he intimated had been given, and the habit was renounced. Bear with me. Mr. Spurgeon, whose smoking propensities are pretty well known, instantly rose at the conclusion of Mr. Pentecost's address, and with a somewhat playful smile, he said, "Well, dear friends, you know that some men can do to the glory of God what in other men would be sin. And notwithstanding what Brother Pentecost has said, I intend to smoke a good cigar to the glory of God before I go to bed tonight. If anybody can show me in the Bible the command, 'Thou shalt not smoke,' I am ready to keep it. But I haven't found it yet. I find 10 commandments, and it's as much as I can do to keep them. And I have no desire to make them into 11 or 12. The fact is that I have been speaking to you about real sins, not about mere quibbles and scruples. At the same time, I know that what a man believes to be a sin becomes a sin to him, and he must give it up. Whatsoever is not of faith is sin, and that is the real point of what my brother Pentecost has been saying. Why? A man may think it is a sin to have his boots black. Well then, let him give it up and have them whitewashed. I wish to say that I am not ashamed of anything whatever that I do, and I don't feel that smoking makes me ashamed, and therefore I mean to smoke to the glory of God. Great was the scandal produced by this manly utterance of the great preacher, but he stuck to it and wrote to the Daily Telegraph, "As I would not knowingly live even in the smallest violation of the law of God, and sin is the transgression of the law, I will not own to sin when I am not conscious of it. There is growing up in society a Pharisaic system which adds to the commands of God the precepts of men. To that system I will not yield for an hour. The preservation of my liberty may bring upon me the upbraiding of many of the good and the sneers of the self-righteous, but I shall endure both with sincerity, so long as I feel clear in my conscience before God." Oh, Ginger. The expression "smoking to the glory of God" standing alone has an ill sound, and I do not justify it, but in the sense in which I employed it, I shall stand to it. No Christian should do anything in which he cannot glorify God, and this may be done according to Scripture, in eating and drinking and the common actions of life. When I have found intense pain relieved, a weary brain soothed, and calm, refreshing sleep obtained by a cigar, I have felt grateful to God and have blessed His name. This is what I meant, and by no means did I use sacred words triflingly. If through smoke I had wasted an hour of my time, if I had stinted my gifts to the poor, if I had rendered my mind less vigorous, I trust I should see my fault and turn from it. But he who charges me with these things shall have no answer but my forgiveness. I am told that my open avowal will lessen my influence, and my reply is that if I have gained any influence through being thought different from what I am, I have no wish to retain it. I will do nothing upon the sly, and nothing about which I have a doubt. I am most sorry that prominence has been given to what seems to me so small a matter. And the last thing in my thoughts would have been the mention of it from the pulpit, but I was placed in such a position that I must either by my silence plead guilty to living in sin, or else bring down upon my unfortunate self the fierce rebukes of the anti-tobacco advocates by speaking out honestly. I chose the latter, and although I am now the target for these worthy brethren, I would sooner endure their severest censures than sneakingly do what I could not justify, and earn immunity from their criticisms by tamely submitting to be charged with sin in an action which my conscience allows. And that, gentlemen, is Charles Spurgeon, or was Charles Spurgeon, on smoking. And I don't know about you all, but I think that was quite well said on his part. And precisely how I feel about the matter. Not that I agree with everything Mr. Spurgeon believed, as I said, but I am right there with him on the smoking. All right. Second reading. Professor Huxley on smoking. At a debate upon smoking among the members of the British Association, many speakers denounced and others advocated for the practice. Professor Huxley said, "For 40 years of my life, tobacco has been a deadly poison to me." Loud cheers from the anti-tobacconists. In my youth as a medical student, I tried to smoke, in vain. At every fresh attempt, my insidious foe stretched me prostrate on the floor, repeated cheers. I entered the Navy. Again I tried to smoke, and again met with a defeat. I hated tobacco. I could almost have lent my support to any institution that had for its object the putting of tobacco smokers to death. Vociferous applause. A few years ago, I was in Brittany with some friends. We went to an inn. They began to smoke. They looked very happy, and outside it was very wet and dismal. I thought I would try a cigar. Murmurs. I did so. Great expectations. I smoked that cigar. It was delicious. Groans. From that moment I was a changed man, and I now feel that smoking in moderation is a comfortable and laudable practice and is productive of good. Dismay and confusion of the anti-tobacconists. Roars of laughter from the smokers. There is no more harm in a pipe than there is in a cup of tea. You may poison yourself by drinking too much green tea and kill yourself by eating too many beefsteaks. For my own part, I consider that tobacco in moderation is a sweetener and equalizer of the temper, total rout of the anti-tobacconists, and complete triumph of the smokers. So, those are 2 readings out of that little book. I believe I got mine on Amazon. I'd recommend that you try to get it. They may have reprints of it out. I don't know for sure. But if you can find them, I'd highly recommend you look and try to get them. It's fun to read. On a slightly different note, real quick. If you haven't looked at Paladin Piper's Codger challenge for this year, it's a good one. He's going to do basically a virtual slow smoke competition. You're going to make a video of your slow smoke, and it's going to have a real good prize for the first place. So, go on over to Paladin Piper and look at the video he posted today. I've already entered. I'll be posting my video. Have to do some thinking on which pipe to use. He has some rules. The Codger Slow Smoke Challenge. So, I'll be participating, and I highly recommend you do the same. So go on over there, watch his video, see his guidelines. He's only allowing 25 guys to participate, so I'd highly recommend that you go over there and if you want to, and get your entry in. Anyway, everybody, this has been fun. This is Pipe Man 1861 saying goodbye, good luck, may the good Lord take a liking to you, and happy International Pipe Smoking Day to everybody. I thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and I will talk to you all real soon. Bye, folks. Happy smoking.